overwhelmed in life? Are you dealing with a lot of fear, anxiety, worry, doubt? Are you just simply overwhelmed and don't know what to do anymore? Hi, my name is Ray Hurst. I am a holistic personal transformation coach. I would like to help you understand how what you think and how you think can change everything about your life. I want to do a deep dive into what I call understanding your owner's manual. That is, how does your body, your soul, which is your mind, will, and emotions, and your spirit, literally work together and against each other? This is very, very exciting. I've been helping a lot of people overcome a lot of struggles in life: depression, anxiety, fear, worry, and doubt. And it also improves their physical health. And I'm going to show you how our thinking, our fears, and our worries and our anxieties compromise our immune system and cause sickness, illness, and allow us to get diseases much quicker when we are not thinking properly. So I want to show you what is happening, why we have the fear, and what the fear does to us. So like I said, we are a three-part being. We are a body, soul, and a spirit. Let me just dive a little bit into the spirit because I'm not so sure everybody really understands what we are as a spirit being. So according to the Bible, we are the three-part being, and our spirit is individual of the Holy Spirit. Each person has their own individual spirit. Now, let me just share a little more what our individual spirit can do. Is you ever walk into a room and you sense something, you didn't see it or hear it, you just had a feeling. People call it a gut feeling, a sixth sense, a vibe, an energy. It's a lot of different names, but you just kind of know something that you didn't have common knowledge of. You just kind of felt it. You knew it. That is your spirit. It's so important to understand what our spirit is because it is by our spirit that we are connecting to God, and we are literally connected to other people in our spirit. You ever meet somebody and it's like, whoa, whoa, this person is, and you didn't even talk to them and you already knew something was like, whoa, not good about them? That was your spirit. Or you met somebody and you say, hi, friend. By the way, what's your name? It's because you felt that in your spirit. You felt the peace and the joy and the connection by your spirit. So very, very important. So, what happened in the beginning when Adam and Eve were in the garden? Adam and Eve were a body, a soul, and a spirit. But if you look carefully in Genesis chapter 2, it says Adam and Eve were naked and not ashamed. What is shame? Shame is a very powerful emotion. Go to chapter 3. God says, Adam, where are you? Adam said, I heard you and I was afraid. Fear is again a very powerful emotion. So before eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, Adam and Eve were spiritually led. They were not emotionally driven. Now, here's the real key factor that we got to understand of why do we struggle with so much fear, worry, doubt, and anxiety. Adam was not afraid. He didn't have emotions before the fall. Before he ate the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, he was spirit led. He walked and talked with God in the garden. He had a very close relationship because it was a spiritual relationship. Because God is not a physical body, God is a spirit being. So Adam's relationship with God was spiritual. What happened when Adam ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? He got removed from the garden, and he also had a broken spiritual connection. Now, unfortunately, we start out with this broken spiritual connection. It says we are separated from God. Our goal and our desire is to regain this connection to God. When we become born again, it is our spirit that is connected to Christ, not our mind, not our will, not our emotions, not our body. So it is our spirit is rejuvenated, it is sanctified. The problem is our mind. We need to be renewed by the transforming of our mind. And this is what I really want to focus on, because I want to show you how an unrenewed mind can keep us from connecting to God in the spiritual realms. Not only that, our real wisdom, all wisdom comes from above. So the true wisdom, creativity, and all comes from God through the Holy Spirit. When our spirit is suppressed, let me show you here. When our mind controls our spirit becomes suppressed. So that means when we're overwhelmed with fear, worry, doubt, and anxiety, we're suppressed. Like Adam, he was afraid. When our spirit influences our mind is empowered. Our goal has to be we want to empower our spirit. But what is stopping us from walking in our spiritual calling? Let me show you. It's because of our mind is always, number one, looking to be safe above all things. How do we know that we're being safe? So in the beginning, from conception to 10 years old, everything that comes into your brain is a new imprint. Because you have no frame of reference as an infant or as a newborn, everything that comes in is new. So it's a imprint because there was nothing there before. Anytime something happens again that's similar to what happened in this imprint, it becomes a reinforcement of that core imprint. So you can imagine this is our brain, and all these things. Now, these are what I'm going to put the black marks are the things that didn't work out because we're talking about fear, worry, doubt, anxiety, and depression. So these are the things that were imprinted into our brain that were not a good thing. So this is the first time they happened. Being imprint, we gave it a meaning because we had no frame of reference of how to give it a meaning, and nobody told us the meaning to give it. Only we can give the meaning that we want, and we do. So that gives that core imprint. Now, here we go, and before long, it happens again. What does it do? It reinforces that core imprint. Now, you can imagine at 3, 4, 5 years old, we are not connected to God. We don't know God. We can't comprehend God, and we have not accepted Christ as our Savior. As this whole time's going along, we're operating out of our cognitive thinking, out of our human reasoning. So each time this gets reinforced that this is not good, what does that say about who I am? It says, I am no good. We can get the feeling of I am worthless. I'll never be enough. I'm no good. Nobody loves me. Nobody cares about me. And it's so easy to get into this way of thinking because the very first time it happened, we had no frame of reference of what to put it or how to put it. So we come up with a conclusion based on our beliefs. Now, it's really important to understand each person has a different personality. Your personality is not going to change. Your personality is given to you by God. You're an extrovert, you're an introvert, you're very outgoing, you're very shy. That's who God created you to be. You're maybe not shy, but just not as outgoing. That's okay. You can't really change your personality type, and we're not asking you to. But you will react to an event because of your personality compared to another person. So a very extrovert person is always looking for what would happen next. A very introvert person is studying what happened to make sure it doesn't happen again because they didn't like it. An extrovert person has something that didn't like, is quicker to try and figure out another angle to get around it the next time it happens, where the introvert is trying to hide from it the next time it happens. And that's okay. That's just how that person's brain works. Now, here's what's happening. You ever hit that wall in life? This wall is you're going along and all of a sudden you hit this wall. And what do most of us do when we hit the wall? We fall down and we go back. Now that could go back 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 weeks, and sometimes longer. So it's no determinate time of how far we're going to go back or how long we're going to stay down. But eventually, sooner or later, we're like, hey, you know what? I'm tired of this. I need to get up. I need to try again. And we get up and we hit the same wall. What happened? Really? And we fall down, we go back, we get up, and we hit the same wall. It's like, wow, come on. What is that wall? Is that wall other people? Is that wall other people trying to stop us? As much as you might think it is, it's not. And I know some of you are going to want to blame the devil, that he's the one putting the wall, he's attacking you, and he's stopping you from fulfilling your purpose for God's kingdom. I want you to think of it in a different way. That wall is your mind, your emotions. Okay? Let me show you why. Everything that's ever happened to you in your life is stored in your brain. Yeah. Ain't that crazy? Okay. For a second. Remember walking into a room and you smell something and you're back in grandma's kitchen? You can see grandma, and that could have been 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. What happened? Your brain did not forget the smell and everything associated with that, everything attached to that event. All these pieces came back at the same time, just like that. That happens with literally everything in your life. You cannot force yourself to forget something. It's not going to happen. We have this really bad saying, it says, forgive and forget. And this is another reason a lot of people are not finding healing, is because they're like, if I forgave the person, that means I had to forget. And when your brain can't forget, you're like, well, did I really forgive them? And so there's a lot of anger attached to this pain. And we tried to forget thinking that was forgiving, but your brain can't forget. Does that mean you didn't forgive? So the truth is, forgiveness is letting go of something that that person no longer owes you a debt. So if I was to ask you, or if you were to ask me for $100 and I gave you $100 And then I came to you and I said, listen, I forgive you this debt of $100. That means I never have the right to come and ask you to pay back that $100 because I've forgiven that debt. Forgiving somebody for their trespasses and transgressions against you is you will no longer make them pay you in any way, mentally, emotionally, physically, in any way. You're not going to hold that against them. You completely let it go. And you're not going to demand that they do anything again in the future. Now, the reason that we struggle so much is this wall is when we're hitting this wall, it's mentally, emotionally. Because every moment of every single day, your brain is doing a research of your whole life to determine what is your dreams, goals, and your next step in life. So here comes a new event. Here comes the event. Your brain has to research your subconscious mind to determine what is the meaning of this new event. This happens literally at the speed of light, that quick. Your brain does the research of your whole life, and your subconscious comes back with a conclusion, and in a nanosecond, it determines, am I safe or am I not safe? That's the number one thing it's trying to do. Am I safe or am I not safe? Now, you have 5 seconds to change your mind about what you're going to do because of you remembering what happened in the past. If you do not change your mind about your past belief, you will do what you always done in the past. Every time you do what you always done, it will reinforce what you believe. Again, reinforcing the core imprint. Now you can imagine these bad things happened over and over and over again, especially if you lived in an abusive household. If you had a parent that was abusive, that wasn't kind, that was not that did not treat you well, you had that imprint in the beginning that I am unworthy, I am not loved, I'm not accepted, I'm not wanted. And you had so many times of that imprint getting reinforced, reinforced, reinforced. Now, here comes a new event. Your brain does a research in a nanosecond. This had to be somebody. So let's go a little deeper. If you struggle with an absent or abusive father, you're going to look at any male authority figure in the same way you looked at your father. This could be a school teacher, a pastor, a leader, a business owner, a boss, police officer, anybody that represents authority, including God. It is not uncommon for us to look at God the way we looked at our fathers. So if we didn't have a good father, like me, my father left when I was 4 years old. I dealt with a lot of abandonment and rejection, and I looked at everybody that they were going to abandon or reject me because of my core beliefs that reinforced, reinforced, reinforced. If I do not take the time to go here and change the meaning of what happened, I will always do what I always done. And every time I do what I've always done, it simply reinforces the core belief. Here's the intriguing part. God cannot change your mind. That's right. If God could change your mind, why has he not already done so? Now, the truth is, he has given you free will. So I got a question for you. Is this love or is this love? This is, I'm controlling you and making you do what I want because I want you to do it. This is, I'm letting you do whatever you want because I love you so much. I'm just going to let you do what you want to do, even though I know you're going to do something I don't want you to do. But I love you so much, I'm going to let you do it anyway because I don't want to control you. So God gave us a free will that we can do anything we want to do, even when it goes against His will. So if God gave me a free will, that means He can't change my mind. The same goes with the devil. The devil cannot make you think anything. Because if the devil had the power to make you think anything, you would never think anything good. The truth is, you alone have to take your thoughts captive, bring them into submission. This is how we are transformed by the renewing of our mind, is we have to go in there and take them thoughts captive. Now, this goes a little deeper. How do I find that the origination of that thought? This is the key. I keep struggling with this thought over and over and over. I just can't get through it. I can't get past it. I'll tell you why. Back here in the beginning, between conception and 10 years old, is a core imprint. There's no frame of reference. Okay. Think of a pink elephant. Okay. What does a pink elephant mean to you? Nothing. Why? You have no frame of reference for a pink elephant. It doesn't fit in anything. It doesn't mean anything. It has no value. Now, this back here, this pain, this suffering, this anguish, this anger, this bitterness, all has a frame of reference. When somebody hurts you, you instantly reference back to something here, back here, that happened a long time ago. The problem is it became a core imprint that grew and grew and grew and grew until it becomes a dominating thought, belief system. It becomes such a dominating belief that your brain instantly goes to that belief. Because here comes a new event, your brain does a research, in a nanosecond comes back with the conclusion of what do I believe about my past, comes back, I need to be safe. This is what's going to happen because this is what happened in the past. Now, this gets even deeper yet. Here is why people are unhealthy, have sickness, disease, and their bodies cannot get well. Because everything that happens in life, let me back up. We have neurochemicals in our body that are produced on demand. And let me clarify and stress, cortisol, adrenaline are the two the bad guys. There is no adrenaline tank in your body. There's no supplement of adrenaline or cortisol or any other chemical in your body that's waiting to be used. It's all produced on demand. This is very critical to understand that all these neurochemicals, serotonin, dopamine, cortisol, adrenaline, and all the other neurochemicals are only produced on demand. You heard of an adrenal drip? Some people could easily imagine it's a little tank that is leaking out. No, it is produced on demand because of fear. Now let me show you why it happens. Cortisol and adrenaline are the two bad guys. When a new event occurs, your brain does a research and says, based on the beliefs of my past, I think this is not going to go well. I'm not going to be safe. I'm not going to be happy. cortisol and adrenaline gets released out of your body. The adrenaline dilates your pupils, dries up your saliva, shuts down your organs, makes your heart run faster so that the blood can go to your extremities so you can fight or flight. It's called the stress response. Now, here's another one that's really, really tricky, and this is the guy that makes you hit this wall so bad. It's called cortisol. Cortisol literally takes your cognitive thinking processing ability and greatly diminishes it in a heartbeat. You ever see a really intelligent person do something really dumb? I mean, like, you're like, what? What are they doing? That is like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But this person has a high IQ. They're very intelligent. And by the way, IQ is not the same as EQ. IQ is your intellectual intelligence. EQ is your emotional quotation or emotional intelligence. Your, your intellectual intelligence will not diminish unless you have a dramatic brain injury or a brain disease. Your emotional will drop dramatically in a heartbeat. This is why you see a very smart, intelligent person doing something that makes no sense and makes you question their sanity. So here's what's happening is your brain can process about 720 bits of data at any given time when you're in a good state of mind. When you have stress, fear, worry, doubt, or anxiety, it can literally drop as low as 20. Now, the cortisol is what takes away your cognitive processing creativity ability to keep you safe. Here comes a new event. Your brain does the research of your whole life, comes back in a nanosecond, says, we're not doing too well. This is not safe. It never worked out in the past. It's always been bad. Instead of having all these creative ways of trying to figure out what to do next, the cortisol takes that cognitive thinking, drops it dramatically, so you can only think of one thing, and that is be safe. Now, for you to be safe, may be fighting or it may be running. That really depends, again, on your personality type and the situation you're in. Unfortunately, when this cortisol takes over and your cognitive thinking drops dramatically, it is not possible to think creatively and to come up with good ideas and to stay calm because all you want to do is be safe. This is why you see people going from a smile on their face to be raging angry because the cortisol took their thinking ability. That fear took over. The cortisol dropped. That they can't think clearly and they're only reacting because that is how they believe they need to be safe. You'll see the other person who's the introvert who will just completely shut down and won't talk. And they cannot talk. Why? Because their brain has taken their ability, their creative ability, and took it down to nothing. So their response is I need to completely withdraw into nothing to be safe. Their brain cannot process creative, thoughtful processes. Just completely diminishes it. Now, let's take another scenario. You can imagine you're dealing with a little bit of stress, which everybody has stress, even positive things cause stress. But just say you had trouble getting your car started, you're late for work, you just had a fight with your spouse, one of the children is sick, overwhelmed. You're just simply overwhelmed with a lot of things in life. And you're headed to work and your cognitive thinking, your processing ability is down to 400. So you walk in the door, you're late, It's been raining outside. You're soaking wet. Your boss looks at you and he's just like, and just walks off. Immediately, what's your thought? Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, the boss is angry. Why are you thinking that? Because it's referencing back to something else that happened in your life. Because you're not at your creative processing ability, you're going to think the worst. You're going to come up with the worst scenario of how can you be safe. Now, here you are at work. You're you're feeling not so good because of all the things that happened before you got to work, what happened going to work. You walk in, you know what? Now you sit at your desk, boom. Your creative processing ability is dropped to 300. Your probability of making mistakes and not getting your work done well and properly has dropped dramatically. The problem, cortisol lingers in your brain for over an hour. So when you have an event, here comes a new event, your brain does the research, your cognitive thinking will drop instantly from 720 to as low as 20 or anywhere in between there. It's going to take an hour for that to dissipate. Now, here is a hack that you can reset your brain in 5 minutes or less. When you find yourself at a place where you're just really down and overwhelmed, stop and think about something you're grateful for. This does really work. It's so amazing. When you think of things you're grateful for, serotonin and dopamine come rushing in and wash out the cortisol. Now, in 5 minutes of sitting there thinking what you're grateful for, all the cortisol gets washed out because of the serotonin and dopamine coming in and taking over. Ironically, people who deal with a lot of depression are given artificial serotonin and dopamine. Okay, think about this logically. Here's the cortisol pushing in. Why is the cortisol pushing in? It's because of the fear, worry, doubt, and anxiety. Where did that come from? Came from conception to 10 years old. How do I stop the fear, worry, doubt, and anxiety from forcing the cortisol to push my cognitive thinking down? Is I have to go back to where it started. It all started back here. This is the foundation of my thinking, beliefs, and processes. Stress is not what I'm thinking about. Stress is what do I believe about what I'm thinking about? What is my belief about this new event? That's what stress is. Stress is my belief about this event. I'll take my cognitive thinking and drop it dramatically. Now, here's the problem with the antidepressant drugs is the cortisol is flowing because of my belief of an event that just happened, and my belief about that event will make the cortisol flow. The doctor is now giving me artificial serotonin and dopamine trying to counteract that. The problem is the cortisol is still trying to flow because I'm still in fear, worry, doubt, and anxiety. Why? Because I never went back and dealt with the core issue. If I do not take that out, it will continue to be there. It'd be the same as I have a bucket and I fill the bottom of the bucket up with dirt. And then I fill the rest of this up with water here. Now, if I took a stick and put it in that bucket and just stirred around the top, you get a little sediment there. But if I took the stick and put it all the way to the bottom and stirred it up, all the mud and muck would get stirred up. Why? By the way, why should become your favorite word. This really needs to become your favorite word. Everything that happens, stop and say, why? I got 5 steps to overcoming something. Stop. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking that? Is it true? What's the truth? Here's the problem. You literally have 40 thoughts a minute. That's 70,000 thoughts a day. The problem is you're never stopping to say, what am I thinking? Why? Why am I thinking that? Why? When you start saying why? By the way, did you know you can't be curious and angry at the same time? No, you can't be. You cannot be curious and angry at the same time. Stay curious. Ask why. Why? The problem is when they're trying to give you an artificial serotonin dopamine is they're trying to push the cortisol out that can never be pushed away completely because it is generated by me. My chemical factory, my body, is producing this chemical. Again, why? Because of the event. Why? Because of what I'm thinking. Why? Because of what I believe. Why? Because my belief comes from my childhood, conception at 10 years old. That's it. If I do not come back here and correct this, nothing changes. Remember, God cannot change my mind, nor the devil cannot change my mind. It is only I have to be renewed by the transforming of my mind. How do I transform my mind? I find the lie. What is the lie that I believe? Now, just let me tell you here, this is what I call a simple step, a hard process. I cannot stress enough. This does not happen overnight. Yes, you will find some areas where you have major breakthroughs and you have major transformations very, very quickly. But let me warn you, that will not happen with every part of your life. It's not possible. It's physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually impossible to instantly change and transform everything in your life in one moment. It will never happen. What's going to happen is we take one thing, we take it one step. Again, this is a simple step, a very hard process. We start looking at the events that are happening in our life. What am I thinking about it? What am I believing about it? And when the things are not good, where did it come from? Why is this getting stirred up? You realize if I took all that mud out of the bottom and I only had water in there, when I put the stick in there and stir it, there would be no mud. Again, why? Because I dealt with all the lies. So you're going to say, well, now, what do? I get that. I have some lies that I believe, that are some hurts and some wounds. Are you saying, like for me, my father left when I was 4 years old? What's the lie I would have believed? My father left. The lie is that I am abandoned and I am rejected. So when I put that in as one of my core beliefs, it got reinforced and reinforced and reinforced till I lost 40 years of my life. Anger, bitterness, depression. Because of what did I believe? And my belief was driven from my core between conception and 10 years old. How did I overcome that? Is I had to be willing to go back and look at that and start saying, what is the truth? And I started tearing apart the lie. And as you see, it happens one piece at a time, one step, one thing, one step. My saying is, he who jumps up mountains falls down mountains. Let me say that again. He who jumps up mountains falls down mountains. Because you don't jump up mountains. You simply take one thing, you simply take it one step. Now, I know that sounds hard. That sounds overwhelming. Got a question for you. Is the way you're living now any better? If you're dealing with anxiety, depression, fear, worry, doubt, and anxiety, that's way worse than challenging yourself to take one thing, take it one step, and start looking at these lies in your past. Now, when my father left when I was 4 years old, I would tell people I was abandoned, I was rejected. The truth is, my father was broken and empty. He could not give me what he did not have. Was I really abandoned? No. In God's kingdom truth, I was never abandoned. Was I ever rejected? No. In God's kingdom truth, I was never rejected. Now, when I am transformed by the renewing of my mind, I had to go back here and start dismantling this belief. And to the more and more and more, I kept tearing apart this belief to the point when I know the truth will set me free. Again, if I am not free somewhere, I don't have the truth. If you're struggling with any fear, worry, doubt, anxiety, depression, anger, bitterness, strife, somewhere, I promise you, there is a lie. The only way that you're still struggling is if you are hanging on to a lie from your past. And I have found the majority, over 95% of the time, it comes back here to your core. To that core imprint, that first time it happened, that it got reinforced, 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 and to become a natural way of thinking, which becomes a natural way of acting and reacting. Now you can see how when your mind controls your spirit is suppressed. God cannot stop you from doing what you want to do because He gave you free will. It is only when we get control of our mind, when we deal with these lies, that we can say to the mind, you need to stop and step back because I am going to let my spirit rise up. I'm going to be led by my spirit and not driven by my emotions. When we are overwhelmed, fear, worry, doubt, and anxiety, we are driven by emotion. We're not led by the Spirit of God. I would love to help you unpack this. I'm not sure if you think this is an easy step. Let me just say it is an easy step. It's a very hard process. I I believe that some of you will be able to watch this and say, wow, and you run with it, and other people will be like me. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of help to get through there. As I suffered through my two major depressions, coming out of my last one is how I come to understand this. And this is how, over the last 10 years, I've radically transformed my life. And I've helped so many people find freedom and truth and happiness in their life by helping them go through these steps. I would love to help you take your next step. And remember, please, everything is one thing, one step. You're not going to jump up mountains. You're not going to change everything overnight. If you'd be interested, I would love to connect with you to talk more of how I can help you find your freedom, breaking these lies from your past so that you can be free, to be happy, to find peace and joy, to be all who God has made you to be. Hey, I'm looking forward to talking to you soon. Have a great day.